Sort of break it down like this.
Gang Hang. Hey, everybody. It's Saturday morning. It's like -6 in Nebraska, so you literally can't go outside. So I figured let's hang in the Discord and rap about comics in our Gang Hang. Welcome aboard, everybody. Before we get started, just want to do a little Discord housekeeping. I don't know if you guys saw, but Brian Domingos is posting solicits now, and it's excellent conversation about upcoming comics and stuff that are getting us fired up. Stuff that like I didn't even know was happening, so I'm glad he's doing that. Thank you, Brian. He's our comic solicit czar. Ian's Indie Salon is still going on. He's got another one coming soon. Pay attention. Watch for that. We'll be posting all over the place. And
it's the Indie Comic Salon.
It's Ian's Indie Comic
featuring
Salon.
Ian.
I like that.
It's not Ian's Indie Salon.
Never going to call it anything else.
Okay.
So watch for. We'll be pimping that. There's going to be another episode coming real soon here. We had
to answer Brian's question real quick. Yes, we can circle back to the Wolverine discussion from
absolutely.
Was there a Wolverine question that I missed, or was there?
No.
Last week's Wolverine?
We're talking about. I think he's talking about. We were just talking about casting Wolverine, how difficult it's going to be, and like what a mess it's going to be. There was some excellent discussion in our Hot Takes channel about continuity versus canon, and I honestly, some of the most intelligent discussion we've probably ever had tied to THN.
I was feeling pretty smart. I won't lie. It is definitely the smartest conversation that's happened anywhere near or around. Anywhere on or around our brand. So
it was JoJo
which is what I said in the chat.
JoJo and Tori were talking about it, and it all spun out of Tori's episode she just had not too long ago with Charlie Jane Anders on their show Transcending Comics. Check that show out too. It's great. But that's it. Let's get into it. It's Gang Hang time. There's all kinds of stuff to discuss. Brian, we were talking about casting Wolverine before we got started here. And it's not really like the news of the week, but it's on our brain. What do you think? Who do you get to do this? I mean, like,
I think it's a huge, it's like all of them. First of all, it's picking a crew, right? Like, what's your team? There's hundreds of options.
Yeah.
And putting it together and finding like what, I don't know if there's a definitive team other than like a cartoon version.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. All this X-Men 97 stuff that they're like, oh, we're bringing the cartoon back and stuff. Is this a test to give us your movie X-Men squad?
No, not everything is a conspiracy, Matthew.
I'm saying I hope it's not. But that's
I think that
really be all that bad if they got a good story about it. If they got a good story around those characters,
I mean, I don't know.
It would be a first if they had a good story on that show.
It would be a first.
But I mean, again, the problem with that show, whatever problems one might have, was not the characters that they chose, because it was Rogue, Gambit, Beast, Jean Grey. You know, it was all the main X-Men.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't need Rogue and Gambit being on my first X-Men team. They can show up later. That's fine.
Oh, calm down.
Don't need it.
Gambit's going to end up in the MCU. You just wait.
But Brian, come back. You were finish that thought. You were talking about where we go from there.
I just think, you start with just figuring out what phase it is. Are they doing the original? Like, they're not going to do the original 5. I can't see them starting there.
I can't imagine unless they are in the role as teachers, like recruiting a new team of X-Men or something, right? Like, you can have them there and establish that they were the original 5.
Yeah, like a flashback there. It opens with the original 5.
But it can't be an X-Men First Class situation, because there's no way fans are not going to stand for like waiting for these kids to grow up to be the real X-Men. You know what I mean? We've seen too much.
I don't think, like, you can't really do Angel. Like, you can't do that whole thing. No, because nobody wants to sit through Apocalypse and the Archangel and it's come so far, and Beast can change between, human looking and beast looking or whatever. Like, that doesn't really matter.
Sure.
And everyone else can fit, but like Warren changed so much from the beginning to like from that to like the end of X Factor. And
Let's put a pin in that Beast talk real quick. For the future, for later on down the line in this podcast. Because Matt finally,
I saw the Marvels.
Matt can finally discuss some things.
So this is why that was kind of on my brain when we started talking about Wolverine and stuff, because and full spoilers, guys, it's been out for a long time, okay? But full spoilers, Beast shows up.
You were the last.
Yeah, Beast. I'm literally
you're the
last.
only one we've been waiting on. This
Beast shows up in a credit cookie, and of course it's Kelsey Grammer doing the voice. I don't think it was actually him though. Was
it's
it?
full CGI.
No,
it's clearly full CGI. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know if he was there and like they
I haven't
CG'd
seen it
some
yet,
stuff or whatever. But
They probably. Well, I don't even think his face looked like Kelsey Grammer. I don't
Not
even,
really.
I don't think
Not
they.
even.
not really.
So I don't even think he like motion captured it. I think they just.
Not even close.
Yeah.
They CGI'd in a live athletic look, like somebody that actually looks like they can do a standing backflip.
Yeah, absolutely. As opposed to like,
But in the face though, with the bottom tusks, he looked more like the way they drew him in Percy's X-Men run.
Yeah, I don't really care for the Beast with the bottom tusks.
yeah, I don't need the tusks either. Don't need it.
Like fangs is one thing, but like tusks, like no.
I like Avengers, Defenders,
Like an
Beast.
orc,
To be perfectly honest,
I don't need that really.
plain old Avengers, Defenders, Beast.
He looked like Avengers Beast, except for the tusks.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I guess.
He had the kind of slick backed hair and the.
So can I ask, because I haven't seen Marvels yet, but I did.
Sorry, Brian.
It's okay. Listen, I am 8 episodes away from finishing the first run of Frasier. It is a delight.
Yeah, Frasier's
it
great.
is hilarious, and if you like a farce, it's great. Like it settles down. Kelsey Grammer is a big douche, but Frasier is always the butt of the joke, but he's always so positive about it, and it's so fun watching him like humiliated every episode.
Are you talking about the new Frasier or the old school Frasier?
No, the original. It's
Okay.
270 something episodes.
Yeah, the
It has 8
original
lessons.
is
So I am
fantastic. The new one is
Yeah.
garbage. It is
probably
not worth watching.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tune back into Frasier Cast for more
Yeah.
about Matt's
So-
opinions
so-
on the new
but the
Frasier. But Brian's making a point here.
Yeah, so I saw, like I clicked on a trending, which you should never click on a trending thing
Don't
ever.
ever
But it's
click
like
on
Frasier.
anything that says trending on social media.
Never, ever. But I was like, oh, I'm watching Frasier right now, and then it was like a screenshot of Beast, and I was like, motherfucker, like, I've been doing really well, but there. So I don't know. Was it Kelsey Grammer? Because it kind of does look like him.
It was the voice of
it's his
Kelsey
voice.
Grammer,
It was the voice.
He voiced the big old CGI blue thing.
And is he talk? What is the scene like? What happens in it?
So okay,
You want to go ahead, Joe?
Yeah. So, in the Marvels, full spoilers for the Marvels. Again, it should be stated. In the Marvels, towards the climax of the movie, all of the Marvels have to do their Care Bear stare or whatever to close all the Stargates
yeah,
that generic Kree bad guy has opened. And wouldn't you know it, it can only be done if one of them's on the other side.
who could have seen that coming?
And they don't know where. Isn't that always the way?
Man, that almost happened in Ant-Man, and then it didn't.
It was like one of those infomercials where it's like, don't you hate it when this happens to you? And
Yeah,
it's like
like,
the most ridiculous, clumsy, like that's never happened to anybody in the history
Right.
of life. So anyway, Monica Rambeau is on the other side of the Stargate, and she's lost, quote unquote, because the Stargate closes and they have no idea where it goes. And so she's definitely lost, maybe even presumed dead. But then in the credit cookie, Monica wakes up. Monica. Monica wakes up in a lab, like on a gurney in a lab, and she comes to and she's like, "Well, what's going on? What happened? What happened?" And you hear this voice, and it's Kelsey Grammer as the Beast, and it's the CGI Beast that looks kind of George Perez-ish, like not the cat Beast,
Right.
Also not.
Thank God.
Stars and
Not
Garters.
Joey,
Beast. Not quite
Joey Krakoa Beast.
Yeah.
Where
and
he's
not
like
quite
having
Stars and Garter
also
Beast.
eating too many
either, but
snacks, right?
closer to Stars and Garters Beast,
Closer to Stars and Garters Beast, yes. And they're talking about like who are you? Where'd you come from? Blah blah blah. Oh, you're from an alternate universe. Ooh, interesting. And then there's this other person in the room, and it is Carol, Monica's mom. It is I don't remember her name. Maria. Thank you, Jade.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is Maria Rambeau, alive and well, and like young still, like relatively like in her prime,
And dressed as binary.
and dressed as binary.
Which,
Oh,
but like, here's the
They
thing.
call her binary.
Like,
Do they say her name
Beast is
in the
referred to her.
credits?
Yeah.
In the
Beast
credits,
is
in the credits.
she's listed as binary.
She's listed
I
as
don't. I didn't catch the Beast say binary, but yeah,
Beast
she's
is-
definitely
Beast
listed
was
in the
saved by
credits as
binary.
binary as well. So it's a great scene, and that doesn't mean shit because we all know that John Krasinski's not going to be Mr. Fantastic
Yeah.
any more than Patrick Stewart's going to be Professor X. So Monica Rambeau and Kelsey Grammer can portray these versions of the X-Men all day long. That doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean that this is what we're going to see in an X-Men movie.
I don't
But
think it means a damn thing.
that's what happened.
Yeah. It's a tease. It was a
okay.
tease. I don't think
Certainly,
it means
it's a
anything.
tease. Yes.
Interesting. It's amazing to read the post Dark Phoenix saga X-Men and how much Carol is there.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's a
yeah.
He's a recurring
It's-
character in the X-Men
it's
books
from
for
the
a
late
while.
70s. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
there she is a load bearing member of the team for
Oh,
a
yeah.
very long time. And
Because
it is
Claremont
it's
was
so
pissed they
interesting
canceled
that
his
she-
book. He was pissed off that they canceled his book. He's like, I have more story for this character, so we're doing it in the X-Men. Deal with it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
We're doing it
Binary
in
is
Marvel
very cool.
Comics Presents 30 years from now. Deal with
Oh,
it.
that comic was like what
It's
a
terrible. I know.
it's
Matt was way too generous
baffling.
about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
oh my god. Yeah, no, it is like it's worse than you imagine. It
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, it's every bad like awful big 2 90s comic you can think of.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
it's worse than
Oh,
that.
the art
It's-
switch. Yeah.
The art switch is
it's
just
so
rough.
bad. Oh.
Violent. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, go back and we've got it was our Captain's Marvel, or the ladies that use the name Marvel in their
We
name.
just call it the
Yeah.
Marvels, but yeah, it
The
was
Marvels.
It was the Cosmic Long Box where we did all Captain Marvel and adjacent, and Matt reviewed what would have been,
Yeah.
Captain Ms. Marvel 25 from 1980, whatever, but the book got canceled.
I think it would have been 26. 25 was the final issue.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
it was
yes.
26.
So it would have been. It was going to be 26, which actually shows the fight between Rogue and Ms. Marvel.
Right.
Which Matt and I were both shocked to learn is only hinted at
Yeah.
in Rogue's first appearance. We've gone our whole lives thinking that Avengers Annual 10 is like this epic battle between Carol and Rogue.
Right.
And it's not.
In my head, I could see that battle. Like I invented it and went, yeah, I totally read
You
that.
made it up, yeah.
And then I
Yeah,
realized when we read that Avengers 10 annual, it's like, it's not here. It literally,
It's not in there.
the book
No.
opened, Captain Marvel 25, canceled. Avengers 10, annual 10, open the page. Captain Marvel got her ass whooped and they're pulling her out of the water. And I'm like, what happened? And they're like, I don't know.
I forget who it is, but Iron Man or somebody fishes. Oh, it's Spider Woman.
Yeah.
Jessica Drew fishes her out of the drink. She's like in the river.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they're like, "Oh man, what happened to Carol? Yikes! I guess we'll never know."
Yeah.
And then Rogue shows up.
Yeah. I did it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
oh,
crazy.
you did?
It's
Off
insane.
panel? Wow.
Yeah. And so Chris Claremont had the chance to finish that story. It was already written, presumably.
Yeah.
And it was half drawn.
They
by
said they
the
went
current
off
series
his
artist of the time.
They said they went off his notes and,
then-
the artist notes to finish it.
Yeah. And then so Marvel Comics Presents in the early 90s was this. Oh no, it was Marvel Superheroes.
Yeah.
Right, Matt? Because
Yeah.
it was the Marvel Superheroes quarterly series. It was an
Yes.
anthology series at the time. And they handed it off to some terrible 90s artist, like MC Wyman, I think was the artist.
I don't know.
Some guy who's long gone, you've never,
Right.
like, he's gonzo. But they handed it to this guy to finish, and it is such a jarring shift in art styles from like very early 80s to very early 90s that it's
Well, not just that, to aping Rob Liefeld very early 90s. Like,
yeah,
full
it's like
on.
you give you whiplash.
Sharp
Yeah,
feet,
just like,
no noses. Like, oh man, oof, bad. But okay, the moral of the story is, so Binary shows up in the end of the Marvels. I thought the Marvels was fun. I thought it was fine. I thought the story totally fell apart, and the bad guy could not have been less interesting.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue with that entire movie.
I can't remember the bad guy's name.
For the most part.
I don't know what the plan was. They're like, I'm gonna steal their son. Like, that's ambitious, I guess. But then, like, Captain Marvel can just relight a sun if she wants to. Really? She's that powerful? Really?
Well, she had absorbed all the power from the quantum bands.
I guess, but I don't know. It just kind of felt like you said, Care Bear stare, happy ending. Hooray.
I mean, I'll agree that the plot is not the strongest part, but that movie is so joyful and funny.
I loved
and
Miss Marvel.
lighthearted, and it's such a fun watch that like I really couldn't care much about the plot at all. Anyway,
I thought
I was having so much fun.
Every time Kamala was
Listen,
not
you know
on
the part-
screen, it drug. Like, and then Kamala would come on screen, and I was like, okay, this is fun again. This is fun. And then,
the part that sold me in the entire movie was the Flurkin space station escape plan. And then I was all on board.
that was great. That was great. There was some legit great stuff that went on, but it's just like every time we got back and now to the Kree portion of the story, which will grind this movie to a halt.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Here we go.
I mean, it's
Marvel
funny that
continuous
because
disposable villains.
the to contrast, Carpe Diem in the chat says I could have done without so much time spent on the Flurkins.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, it's different for different folks. Whatever.
Mileage may vary.
I think it
Your
definitely
mileage may vary.
it became a thing.
Like I smiled from ear to ear watching that movie, and by the time it was over, I was like, I don't give a shit what the plot was. I had so much fun.
It was cute.
So
I thought it was
to
cute.
me,
It was fine.
Marvel's is thumbs up all the way because it's such a great time.
It's better than some of the recent output, definitely. I'll say that. It just, you could tell it fell apart in the plot. The Flurkins thing is cute, but that was also partially to probably give you something since the plot was so weak. So they're like, here's this
Overall,
fun,
like
cute
that
part.
villain was so memorable. That was probably my biggest criticism.
Yeah.
Was that?
And she's
You know what?
she's a
generic
really
as hell.
good
I'll
actress,
clarify.
too.
I actually thought that the plot was okay, but the character was not memorable.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
thought her plot was very compelling. So
Yeah,
I'm
Roman
open.
accuser.
I'm stealing the ability to open stargates to like bring life back to my home planet. Like, okay, great.
Sure. No, that's not
but
bad.
The character was just, and she
Yeah.
did a fine job, but that character is just such a nothing of a character.
No, and the plot falls apart is the
thinking-
issue. It just completely fell apart. They had a great idea.
This is the thing about the MCU that pisses me off. Though a lot of the times is, they have all these villains introduced, and they never have crossover. Imagine if that was Ronan,
Right.
who they were facing.
Yes. I
should've made
loved
it, like, 10 times better.
loved Ronan, and I started
Didn't they
thinking about
destroy
that.
Ronan?
When was the last?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Ronan.
the problem.
Ronan died. He exploded.
Yeah, he exploded.
Yeah.
But like, what was the last really charismatic bad guy that we had other than Kang? Who, great performance. Never going to see that dude again. Sorry.
I think it was Crow from the Eternals movie.
Yeah, definitely. Crow.
It was definitely Crow from the Eternals.
Yeah, like
I don't
even
wanna be-
Shang-Chi, like there was no, like you could have done something as dumb as Razor Fist is. That is the perfect villain to do something to make us go, oh my God, I can't believe I loved Razor Fist. But you didn't. We focused too much on
was
like
cool.
evil, sad dad. He's evil. He's sad. He runs a bunch of assassins. Come on. What
He
happened
doesn't
to our,
really want to do this. Oh God.
what happened to our
It's like-
bad guys?
I just rewatched Winter Soldier, and if I'm being honest, I don't want to be the Marvel apologist, but if you go back and watch a lot of those original MCU run, the Infinity Saga, a lot of those plots fall apart if you look at them too hard.
Oh, sure.
And I think we were just so wrapped up in the moment of how awesome it was to see this stuff on screen that we didn't put the scrutiny in that we are now because there's fatigue.
Yeah.
Because like Civil War, if you take Civil War, that you could have stopped that movie at any point by someone just talking.
Oh, of course.
Having a conversation instead of fighting or instead of doing whatever Deus Ex Machina move they made.
Sure. Civil War was
to make things happen.
Civil War was professional wrestling storytelling where it's just like something went
Yeah.
wrong and now I'm going to beat your ass. Not if I beat your ass first. Like, whoa,
There's only one way to settle this.
What went
In the
wrong?
center of this ring.
Like, let's just settle down and think about it. No, get in the ring,
Yeah, especially the ending with the Bucky Cap Iron Man fight.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that escalated so unrealistically to a degree that it was like, what was that movie about?
Yeah.
Because it was not about Iron Man fighting, it wasn't about Iron Man being mad about this thing, because he just found out about that halfway through, like 3/4 of the way through.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. And
it's the same ending as Batman vs Superman, by the way. The same ending.
Right. Why did you say that name? Right. Yeah.
Why did you say that name? Like literally the same thing.
Right. And if Tony had stopped for 2 seconds and Tony knew. Like Tony already knew at that point that Bucky had not been in control of any of his actions.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was
so for Tony to roll in guns blazing, wanting to murder Bucky is stupid.
Well,
Carpe Diem says in the chat, for charismatic villain, I think the High Evolutionary qualifies.
He was great.
But on the repulsive side, 100% High Evolutionary was
He was
amazing
great. I forgot how.
And that was just last year, right?
Yeah.
That just came out last year.
It seems like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was like 4 years ago, right?
Everything seems like so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because we're not post pandemic, but you know what I mean. Like movies are back, y'all. Everything feels like it was forever ago. I don't know what
it was our blip.
Why that is.
It was our blip. 1,000% this pandemic was our blip.
Yeah.
So staying.
So I feel like we kind of got away from what we were talking about.
No,
Wolverine.
Casting Wolverine and just generic MCU
we
stuff.
were talking Wolverine, and then Brian. Oh, then we segued to talk about the Beast.
Yeah.
I don't think any casting for Wolverine is going to be good enough until we see the character see the guy actually acting as Wolverine.
Well, sure,
because everybody reacted the same way when Hugh Jackman got cast. They're like, he's too tall, he's too handsome. There's no way. Wolverine's not Australian.
Yeah.
and then X-Men came out and we're like, okay.
No, most people don't even know Hugh Jackman's Australian. If you listen to him talk, like you'd never know.
Yeah, I mean,
He's got Canadian all his life.
Yeah.
And so I don't think like the casting that they choose, the actor that they choose could be the most perfect Wolverine choice of all time, but nobody will believe it until we see it. Like
the casting.
I can already see the discourse in my mind.
Of course.
Oh, I mean, between that and the Fantastic Four, like it's going to be an unbearable couple of years. Of just like
also
like over righteous
plus a presidential
bitching
election. Oh my God, it's all coming at once.
I don't want to think about it this year. Anyway.
Let's just take. Can we blip again?
Yeah, remember Robert Patterson? Remember when the Robert Patterson Batman shit? People were going to kill each other, and then they all went and saw Batman. They're like, "Oh shit, that was great!"
Right, and because it was so cool to bash on Twilight,
right?
And people forget that Robert Pattinson had been in a dozen other movies,
right?
And he's an excellent actor. So by the time Batman came out, it was like, what were you so worried about? Like the dude has been a critically acclaimed actor for years.
Well, I mean, the only thing more popular than armchair quarterback is armchair casting agent. So,
Well, right. Armchair quarterback or armchair editorial, like from our side of the equation, armchair editor in chief. Like how do you who wants to be armchair Cebulski? To decide who gets to be on the Avengers or Brevoort, I guess.
We don't have Wizard magazine anymore, so
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We
How
can't.
long, baby?
You can't keep thinking how long. The guy can't be Captain America and Eddie Brock.
And
Stop it.
And Wolverine, I guess, if it
And
was, if it
Wolverine.
came out now.
And Wolverine.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, and they just like picked one of two Baywatch actresses for every single blonde character, you know?
On Wizard, I'm pretty sure they casted David Hasselhoff as Wolverine once. I remember that.
Oh,
vaguely.
sure. I'm sure. Of course.
Glenn Danzig was the one I kept seeing in Wizard.
Yes, Danzig.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that the
I
guy is a
remember Danzig a lot.
moron and he can't fucking act, you know? Yeah, let's put him in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun talk in the chat. Carpe DM again says everyone thought Michael Keaton was a bad idea, and Frank, controversial Frank, comes in saying I still think it was a bad idea. And Trevor says this has been going on since they cast Mr. Mom as Batman.
Frank,
and it is true.
tell us why is Keaton a bad Batman? Because I don't totally disagree.
Well, you know, Keaton, I think he'd be a good Bruce Wayne now. I liked him in the last Batman, in that Flash movie. I thought he was pretty good. But at the time, Keaton was like this, sort of like, I don't know.
He was
I can't
wacky.
quite
He was a
describe it.
wacky comic actor.
Yeah.
Like he was
Well,
in things like
that was part of it.
Mr. Mom
That was part
and
of it.
Gung Ho and
But-
that movie where that's the
I
crazy
didn't-
guys on Dream Team.
But he had
where
also
it's
done the one where he's
a
dying.
bunch of
He did the one where he had
asylum
cancer.
inmates loose in New York.
But he did the one where he
It
was
might
the
have
dad that
also
died of
been-
cancer too. So,
It might have also been like, him trying to become a serial. He did Pacific Heights. Pacific Heights was
Right.
like, and I think maybe it was maybe it was Tim Burton's direction in the Batman movie that was like, no, gravelier, you're Batman, you're Batman. I think it was just that movie doesn't hold up for me at all.
I agree.
It's dark, but not in the sense that it's like kind of like ooh, dark psychologically. It's dark visually. You can't see anything going on.
no, it's a fun artifact. And to me, it's not the Batman movie that I want to see. I'm not going to say it's the best Batman movie by any stretch, but it's a fun artifact. Sure.
And I'll say this: Keaton's Batman voice is loads better than Christian Bale's Batman voice.
I still like
that's
Christian
the
Bale.
funny
Part about it.
I still-
every time.
In fairness,
I still like
Christian
Death Metal
Bale
Batman. I admit it.
did not.
I don't.
He did not do that voice. He lowered his voice, but he didn't put that weird effect on it. That was done post, and that wasn't really like something he did.
Some of it was,
intentionally.
yeah. Some of it definitely was.
It was terrible though. That whole sound like someone just
Bye,
cut his
JD.
vocal cords.
I will say Keaton in the Flash movie, he's a great actor and the performance was fine, but you could tell every time he was supposed to say a line, a classic Batman line from the classic Batman movies, you could see like his soul die a little bit as he like looks into the camera and goes,
You get like
You wanna
his
get
soul
nuts?
side.
let's
We
get
gave an
nuts.
audible-
just like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I bet they
Definitely.
filmed
Yeah,
some of
I'm
those
Batman.
scenes all day,
Yeah.
and finally he broke. He's like, "Fine, I'll just do it. I'll do it. Fine."
Right.
And every time it happened, I threw up a little
bit.
bit. I was like,
as-
"Blah." Like, "Blah." Oh,
I'd love to see
God.
him as the grizzled old Bruce Wayne to somebody's Batman Beyond Terry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
That would be fun.
I could see that.
I think it would be really fun. Because I think that would be great for him right now. Listen, when he did the Vulture in Spider-Man, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was great.
He was perfect.
He is good.
No
I think
complaints
Michael
at
Keaton
all.
is a great actor.
Right. That guy can do whatever he wants.
But I can imagine him yelling at Andy Spaghetti like, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? Wasn't even my line.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it. It wasn't my line."
It was
Like
just-
they're just
that-
like he's just like, tell Supergirl she weighs a little more than 108. No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and it does
You know,
seem
that-
it was a waste
that
of
Batman movie
him in
was-
that movie because you could have done a
It was.
you could have done a Batman Beyond where he is the older Bruce Wayne coaching a younger Terry,
Right.
and that would have been perfect. That would have been perfect.
Really, it would have been. It would be great.
But
and I think they should have.
we don't live in that world.
That's where it should have gone. But who knows?
Maybe if we get
Joseph
stuck on the other
Gordon-Levitt is
side of
Terry.
the quantum transfer portal,
Sure, why not?
we could see that movie. Who knows? But not in this reality.
Yeah.
So
have you? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask. Has anyone watched Blue Eyed Samurai yet?
no.
I'm going to start today. I look so amazing on the previews.
I've heard it's.
Oh
I've
my
heard it's
God.
exceptional.
I'm almost done with it. I've got 2 episodes left. It is amazing. I mean, I can't even tell you how good this show is.
I've heard it's fantastic.
It's emotional. It's visceral. It's got like real like Japanese history that's attached to it. You know, it's so good.
John
It is
Bunger's yelling that he
so
loves it too,
good.
and I'm definitely on board. It's
Highly
one of those things.
recommend it.
I think I'm gonna have to wait for my wife to fall asleep to watch it because like whenever Samurais come,
anime.
Dude,
it
I've
is
made her
so
sit
bloody.
through too many black and white samurai movies where it's just like now anytime someone draws a sword, I think she just instinctually falls asleep.
Well, let me tell you, it is so bloody. First of all, it's so bloody. There's blood all over this thing. And when someone gets cut, there is a few scenes, not just one. There's a few scenes where someone gets cut in half. Their head gets cut in half. Their body gets cut in half, and you see their brain. Like as their head is sliding off of their skull, you could get a glimpse of the brain on the inside.
Yeah,
You get
Quentin Tarantino did it in Kill Bill because of
good.
being homaged by like that sort of stuff.
Well, but he did it because of a Japanese
Lady
different
Snowblood or
Japanese director that did it in a Lady Snowblood movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Which those are fun as
But
hell.
I mean, that
the Lady
inspiration
Snowblood
comes
movies.
from the same place. Is what
Oh
I'm
my
saying.
God! If you haven't seen the Lady
Right,
Snowblood
okay.
movies, Frank, you'd love them. You'd love them.
Really?
They're so fun. Yeah,
Check
yeah.
it
It's
out.
just raunchy late 70s Japanese samurai violence, pure violence. It's great.
All right.
All right, so I want to touch on a couple of Matt's bullet points from his announcement of the thing. I also had another joke about real quick about the Batman. Have you guys, and maybe Frank and JD, you probably have because you guys are on the Clippity Clops, but have you seen these memes where people have taken very funny little angst-ridden scenes and set them to Something in the Way by Nirvana from the Batman soundtrack?
A few times.
Like, for example, someone took a video of their kid standing in the yard in his Batman outfit. And there was snow blowing, and the snow was blowing sideways, and the cape was whipping in the air, and then it's totally silent except for something.
Oh my God!
It's so hilarious.
I have not seen that yet, but I'm sure
Anyway,
it'll come up
yeah,
soon.
very, very good. So Jason Aaron has been announced as the new writer of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
With a relaunch.
They are
too.
relaunching with a new #1, which is a bummer. But
I don't know that it is, and let me share why. And I can't remember who was talking about it on Discord this week, but we always talk about when we read a TMNT book, we go, man, this book is great. I need to get back into it. And one of the reasons that I have trouble getting back into it, and this person brought it up too, was they've developed such a world around them that like New York is literally crawling with mutants right now, all kinds of animal mutants and stuff.
yeah, there's a whole like mutant town.
And it's sort of almost like the X-Men Krakoa saga, where it's gotten so big that it's almost impenetrable. Like, where do you jump in? Where do you just start going with it? And I think they saw the success they had with The Last Ronin, which was a standalone story, which was excellent. It was so good. If you didn't read it, go pick that up. They saw the sales on that. I think they learned the lesson in losing Transformers and G.I. Joe and seeing how that's restarting at Image and boiling it down and selling so well and tickling everyone. I think this is a legit chance, not to like completely reinvent the Turtles or anything, but to start it over, start it from the ground from the ground up with the 4 Turtles, reset that story with Jason Aaron, by the way. Absolutely. I'm totally in. I think this is a legit good thing for TNT.
So let me offer.
Yeah, please. Chime in.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so So I've talked to Sophie Campbell a fair amount. Like, they were on Giant Size Violence a while ago.
Yeah.
And like, I absolutely love what they've been doing with the last 50 issues of Ninja Turtles.
It's been great.
And like, I would love to see this continue, just because like I think it is an interesting exploration of like who the Turtles are as characters when they're not in the shadows anymore. And
Sure.
like, they can go out and like they're a discriminated class rather than for like hated individuals.
Right.
But yeah, like knowing how things work on their editorial side, and also that like they've kind of told every story you would build to with Ninja Turtles. Like,
Yeah.
I get the need for a relaunch here, and like, is there really an appeal of Jason Aaron writing the Ninja Turtles if like they have to pick up where two other mainline writers left off, rather
Exactly.
than like, let's see what Jason Aaron's reimagining looks like.
Yeah.
So Tori, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because what I think people might not be grasping is that it's a relaunch, yes, in terms of it's getting a new number one, but it's not a reboot. They're sticking with the existing continuity.
Good.
This is per IDW and Jason Aaron. What's going to be different is that the tone of it is going to be more similar to the original Eastman and Laird stories, where, you know, they're kind of noirish, gritty,
ninja driven.
Ninja stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't think they're throwing anything out. I think that they're sticking with that continuity. And so that leads me to my counterpoint, which I wanted to give Matt. Like, conversely to what you're talking about, Matt, I had the opposite problem with the IDW Transformers, because everybody talked about how great it was, and I wanted to get into it, but there was like, where could you have possibly jumped on?
Yeah,
like, what was the right spot? Because everything was a series of minis, instead of a long running ongoing. If you could have just said, here's Transformers Volume 1.
Right.
Then that would have been different, you know? And like, I know that obviously there are ways around that. Like, people have reading lists, or you can ask, like, the information's out there if you want to dig, but how many casual readers are going to be like, which one of these Transformers books do I read?
Oh, sure. Well,
if I want the full story.
And IDW's famous for like, here's another Transformer story. Here's another one. And there's 6 running series, and 2 of them aren't even in continuity. And this one is in a world where this happened.
Yes.
And here's your Saturday morning Transformers, you know, like,
right. And so I think that there's probably a way to thread that needle and appeal to both sides, because but I just don't know. I don't know the right answer. I think if you're trying to appeal to people that aren't familiar with comics, then yeah, maybe a series of minis where you can just hand anybody any book. But you couldn't hand anybody any one of those Transformers books, because they built on one another. They just didn't label them in sequence.
Well, and so to defend them a bit,
like, you can hand somebody Last Stand of the Wreckers or whatever. But it has nothing to do with the next one that you picked up.
Sure.
You know?
But to their defense, the gist of everything is there. You can pick it up and read it. Yes, there's characters you're not going to recognize.
Right.
Yes, there's things that have happened. I don't think it was as completely impenetrable as even some of the X books recently, where it's just like,
I mean, but that should be the goal of every comic writer,
Right.
that every new volume should at least reset on some degree, whether it's through a recap page so you don't have to waste any story pages, or what.
Yeah.
The premise needs to be reset for every new volume.
Right.
Or at the very least, each trade paperback needs to have some sort of primer in it.
And God damn it, Marvel and DC, just give us a little bit of prologue that says what happened in the last issue in every comic. Just do it, okay?
Now, ridiculous. I will say this. I just read Superman last night, this past week's Superman. Great series, by the way. Superman's in the Old West right now. It's awesome. And there isn't a recap page, but there is like a title page where it's like, presenting Superman by Joshua Williamson, whatever. And there is a little blurb where it's got the, the little intro paragraph where it's like, rocketed from a dying planet.
Right.
That kind of thing that's classic to comics. But there's also a small paragraph that was like, previously in Superman. Here's what you need to know to read this issue.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do, really.
Yes.
Unless we're talking about Krakoa, and then you need like a 4-page,
Sure. Sure.
Cliff's Notes kind of thing. But
every comic book is potentially somebody's first. I can't remember who said it, but it's the truth. They said every comic book
it's an old saying.
is potentially somebody's
an old
first.
Saying, a comic book not parable, but a proverb. It's like every comic book is somebody's first.
Yeah.
I think that was Stan Lee.
It may have been Stan.
Probably, yeah.
Or actually, Stan probably said it, but I'll bet
that.
somebody else said it to Stan, and then he said he came up with it.
Stan Lee definitely took credit for saying it.
He definitely took credit for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Mark in the chat says a new reader to IDW's Transformers books would be so confused to open a book and see Starscream as president with Bumblebee as the prime minister. Because they did develop those smaller characters so much during IDW's very long run. The same with the Turtles, right? It's like, who's Old Hob? It's like, who is this guy, and why are they treating him like he's the star of the book?
Right.
Like, I've never even heard of Old Hob because I've only read the Archie, comic from the 90s, or I've only read the Mirage, or I've only seen the cartoon. And so there's got to be a way to make these books palatable for people that want that long-running story, that want to start at the beginning of that long-running story, and people that just want an entry point.
Well, look what Image is doing with G.I. Joe. You've got your new Energon universe, but then you've also got issue 349, and that just came out, which is continuing the IDW story. Larry Hama is still writing it. It's like they're still printed. It sells. I even, after getting excited about G.I. Joe and reading Duke, and I read Cobra Commander this week. No spoilers. We'll talk about it on the show this week.
Don't even get me started on that book.
But
we're going to talk about that next week.
Reading it, it got me excited. And I was like, oh man, I want to see what they're doing with the IDW one that came over to Image. No change at all. I read it and went, whoa, what is happening? Whoa. No.
The art is gorgeous.
The art is gorgeous.
And that's the funny thing is that people are reviewers. We haven't reviewed it on the show, but other reviewers are treating that book like it's this 4 and 5 star. It's like, it's the same story, you guys.
Yeah.
And I read G.I. Joe 300, and I'm here to tell you, it wasn't a 4-star book. It was so is it really just the art that's selling it so hard?
I love Larry Hama as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that recent Android Wolverine limited series he did was the best goddamn thing I've ever read. No, I mean,
yeah.
What was the Android Wolverine? What's his name? It's something stupid.
Albert.
That's right.
Albert was his name. Yeah. And so it used to be that people would, or publishers, not people, people would say they would put things on there like, yes, this is. Oh, you know what? Marvel did it. Marvel did it all the time. It would be like, this is Amazing Spider-Man number 685. But and then in big letters, it would be number 1 of a brand new story. Yeah. And so they kind of tried to have their cake and eat it too. And I think that might be the best way to do it. I just, do you just put on the trades? Do you just put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 30, and then on the cover slap something on that says "Jumping on point for new readers"?
Sure.
I don't know.
What do you guys think? Let's stop talking.
Do people see the 30 on the spine? Do they see the 30 on the spine and just not even pull it out to look at it?
Yeah. What do you guys think?
That's the case. I think that for that specific issue, that's why every time there's a new Catwoman writer, they do a new Volume 1 because a comic shop's not going to buy Volume 9 of some but it's Teeny Howard's first trade.
Sure.
They've already done it, so they just kind of start over again. And I get the rationale for it, but I do agree that ditching it can be an impenetrable type of numbering system, and it is nice to know where is this in the does it count, but is this relevant to the other stuff, or is this its own thing?
Yeah.
Because It's always
Right.
nice to have something irrelevant and kind of, read on its own thing. But if I don't want to start even though there have been so many books, like my first Starman trade was volume 3. That was how I got into the book.
Right.
So-
like my first issue of Starman was issue like 48.
Mark Stern just brought up
It's
something
like-
too, though. Like naming a trade Kraven's Last Hunt is going to sell a lot better than Amazing Spider-Man Volume 27.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe I think you can do both.
I think you can too. I think you can too. And
I think you can do both. And like for organizational purposes and to keep librarians' heads across the world from exploding, you've got to put the number on the spine.
yes,
But
I think you can do
that
both.
I think there's a way to do it so that it doesn't turn off people.
Tori, you were
And
going
I
to say.
agree with you, Mark. I totally agree with you. Like, I think when they were doing back when
Hold on real quick, Joe. I think, Tori, you were going to butt in and say something there.
Yeah, I was curious. Like, didn't DC try to do away with the numbering on their graphic novels?
They did
Like,
for a
the
long
mid or-
time. They did for a
Like-
long time, and it just made for a
and I
nightmare.
hated that.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
the comic shop, we're like, what do we do with these? Do we just put them in alphabetical order? And go, and when people go, well, which one's next? We go, B, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, and it's like Marvel. Marvel has tried it 1,000 different ways. They're doing what Brian is describing right now, where every time there's a new writer, it's volume 1. Somebody's like when this volume of the Punisher gets collected, it'll be Punisher volume 1.
Yeah.
Even though we all know it's not Punisher volume 1. And and that's not even a great example because that's a new series. But like if Zeb Wells were to leave Amazing Spider-Man and somebody else took over, it would be Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1.
Of course.
But they tried to have do something where it was just like just the storylines, labeled like Kraven's Last Hunt. But then they also did stuff like, they would do, Amazing Spider-Man Brand New Day on the spine, and they numbered those sequentially. But by the time you get to volume 10 or 12 of Brand New Day, you're starting to wonder how brand new that day really is.
Yeah, that day's not so brand new no more.
And I think, I'm trying, like I was retailing at the time. And so I think they actually put out 2 versions. I think that you could get one that just said Amazing Spider-Man, The Gauntlet or whatever. And then also get one that said Amazing Spider-Man Brand New Day Volume 5.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Yeah, if Marvel can sell it twice, of course.
Yeah.
Why not?
And so, I don't know. There's a way, and I think I would love it for them to find that.
I think it's also kind of a uniquely American problem because, like, just a few minutes ago, Jimbo posted the manga sales, which blow comics out of the water every month, every year. And all the ones that are selling, they're not volume 1. They're volume 224, and it's a phone book. And guess what? Those kids don't care. Manga kids, they don't give a shit. Bring it on. I'm reading the next one. I'll start on the 50th issue and go from there or whatever, or I'll start from the very beginning. It seems to be a uniquely American superhero comic problem. I'll even say. I'll boil it down to that.
I like the way Nightwing's handled it with, like, I think they kept the traditional numbering, but the collected trades reset. And I think, like, if they're trying to be friendly to new readers, that's probably the best way to do it, since newer readers are way more likely to pick up trades than keep on the ongoing issues. So any series they can, I think, should go there.
I totally agree. But yeah, you're right. They are, because like Nightwing 110 just came out this week, but Tom Taylor's first volume of Nightwing was Nightwing Volume 1, New Blood or whatever it was. So, real quick, not to change subject, but we are getting to the end. I want to touch real quick on the insane looking Juggernaut toy that Mondo's putting out.
Yeah.
For our toy heads in the audience.
You actually need your help, people. I want
and
your
also
opinion.
that Wolverine and that Hulk, Gray Hulk and Patch 2-pack box set, which I swear to God I don't need, but I want real bad.
Okay, so I need your opinion, and you will make this decision for me, friends. The Patch and Joe Fixit thing, that's over. I saw that, went ordered, done. Maybe I need two. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's essentially that cover of Wolverine.
Yes.
Where they're back to back in the white suits.
Needed
so
it.
It's the same thing.
Now, the Juggernaut, one of my all-time favorite Marvel bad guys. I love this character.
Looking.
Love him. But there is something about this figure. It's like, I feel like it should push all my buttons. Like, this should nail
I have an
me.
opinion. Yeah,
Tell me, Damon.
I have an opinion.
Please.
As who has a lot of Juggernaut figures, as is, and it won't have a really play. I'll outright say it doesn't have a place in my particular collection because I usually have most of the comic book stuff, or even some animated stuff, but that's it.
Sure.
It is definitely for an audience who wants to have a weird looking centerpiece.
Yeah.
That is just like, okay, because it doesn't scale with much else, anything. It's not going to fit in your collection if it's not in your scale.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little thing you put in the corner of your living room and say, oh my God, that's a giant Juggernaut, and you can talk about it. So if you're okay with that, yeah, go ahead. If you don't exactly know where you're going to display him in your, wherever you keep your stuff, it might just be kind of an extravagant purchase, because I also don't think this is super cheap.
It's not super cheap. It's
$200,
$250 is what it's going to come down to after shipping and shit.
Exactly.
And now here's my point. I don't have a problem with I love big soft vinyl figures. I bought that Man Thing that's like, almost 20 inches tall, and it's gorgeous. I love it. I missed the Werewolf by Night one they did, and it makes my mouth bleed. I'm so mad because now it's like $700. But this Juggernaut one, there's something about
it looks goofy.
Face.
It looks goofy.
It's the face.
The man thing. The Man Thing may have been a huge vinyl figure, but it looked like Man Thing.
It's stunning.
This thing looks goofy.
Yeah,
like it's a joke.
It's like
it's a cartoon.
The eyes and the mouth. Everything else, I love. I love the oversized hands and the big shoulders and the head being recessed. Like, perfect. But the eyes and the mouth are I looked at this for a long time. And part of me is going, buy it, buy it, buy it. And this quieter part was going, hold on, Matt. Wait a minute. What's up with that face? I don't like the face.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, enough toy talk.
Well, hold on. Am I alone here?
No, I'm with you actually in that regard. But like I said, personally, I wouldn't get it for myself. But like I said, if you like stylized type of thing, there are probably no other stylized Juggernaut, put it that way, in the market right now. So it's up to you.
Yeah, there's just
I think it's the most. It's the most for $200. Like, that's the most niche item you could buy.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah, you need to be obsessed with something to do that, and just you could sell something to everybody, and there's somebody out there who's like, oh, finally, that's what I needed.
Right.
And Damon's totally right. Like, you need to have that's your signature piece, because you've got it. Maybe there's some reason you're getting that. Like, that is not for civilians. That is the almost a creepy niche thing of
sure.
Sure. Who they put it out. They're like, who this is for. It's like, yeah,
exactly. Somebody who has all the Juggernaut figures from 1980s all the way down. Perfect.
Yeah.
Put it right there.
And our buddy John Bunger is in the chat. He said, I love the cartoony face. I just don't have a spot for it, which is fair enough.
Fair.
Like Matt said, everything is for an audience. It's somebody out there. It's for somebody.
There's something Funko Pop.
Personally, I think that it doesn't look in line to me with those other super cool action figures.
No, it doesn't. That's my problem. No. It's got this Funko Pop vibe to it that I don't.
Funko Pop. Frank said one of those super deformed little kid figures.
I never collected those. The Godzilla figures that I love. They are all
Mega Man character. Mark said, which totally rings true in my head.
Yeah, there's a
with the
little
gridded teeth, right?
Manga thing. I don't know. I don't love it.
So it's just it's different. It's different, and it's not.
Hold on, John. What were you going to say?
I was going to say Mark Stern hit the nail on the head. It looks totally like an 8-bit Mega Man character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Personally,
he looks
I
like
love
guts man.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big enough Juggernaut fan to buy it because what I do is I have a lot of stuff boxed up and have a few pieces out, and then I kind of rotate it.
Yeah.
So I don't have giant displays of toys or collectibles.
You've got like the Raiders
So
of
I would
Lost
buy
Ark.
it.
Like
Personally, I'd buy it if I was.
you've got a warehouse
big
at your
Juggernaut.
place. Like I see when we play games
Amazing.
behind you, there's like
When
hallways of crates that he goes
when
into.
when he gets a new toy, he says to his kid Franklin, "Don't worry, top men are on the job." And Franklin's like, "Who?" And he goes, "Top men."
Lincoln.
And then it gets wheeled
Lincoln.
into the
His name is.
into the abyss.
You got the wrong
Yeah.
presidents. Lincoln, not Franklin.
Oh, Lincoln. Sorry, not Franklin. Jesus.
Thanks,
Lincoln,
Joe.
Franklin. Franklin is Jeff Hitt's kid. I constantly
Sure.
mix the two up.
Sure.
Also,
Okay.
Job's puppet.
Yeah.
Job's
That's
puppet,
fair.
also Frank.
Yeah.
The racist puppet.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. We have another friend, Jeff Hitt. His kid is named Franklin, and he's the same age as Lincoln. And I am constantly mixing the two up. So last thing before I'm sure Matt Baum turns into a pumpkin. They've announced that at least temporarily, the Spirit of Vengeance is taking residence in a new host, and Marvel announced that it was going to be a villain. And then they announced who the villain is, and it is the most disappointing, I think, choice that they could have come up with.
Yeah.
It's the Hood is the new
Hood is never
Spirit
going to
of
be a
Vengeance.
thing.
Yeah, that's.
And it's like, stop.
I agree,
Stop it
Damon.
with the Hood.
Stop trying to make the Hood a thing. The Hood is not a thing. This is fetch. Don't do it.
Yeah,
And
it's horrible.
There has to be a calendar somewhere that we need to pay more attention to, where it's like, the Hood's coming. Like
Maybe it's like
cycles through. Like it's going to happen, and we have to be more prepared for it to fight it off.
It's like Matt was telling us with Sony needing to put out Spider-Man stuff,
Right.
Non-Spider-Man Spider-Man projects every 2 years. Like maybe they have to keep putting out Hood centric stories, or else Brian K. Vaughan comes back to haunt the Marvel offices,
Right.
or whatever.
Well, but look at that picture too. It's like, how do we do Ghost Rider 2099 but not do Ghost Rider 2099?
No, he's not Ghost Rider. He's the Spirit of Vengeance.
I don't disagree, but look
There
at
you go.
that picture. That is Ghost Rider 2099. No question.
It's no different than when they did the Venomized thing, and okay,
Yes.
this is just a Ghost Rider version of Hood. That's it.
Yes.
Now
Yes,
this
exactly.
is
Yep.
I do like though one touch that I like. This covers by Juan Ferreira, who I love.
He's
and
great.
This is an excellent
He's
drawing.
great.
This is an excellent drawing, no matter what you think of the actual design. But this thumbnail cuts it off when he puts his guns together like that. The barrels of the guns kind of jigsaw together and form a skull face,
Very
which I
true.
thought was pretty
Very
pretty
Trigon.
cool.
Very Trigon.
I thought that was pretty cool. It's like they Lego snap together.
So this
Nice.
I posted this in the
Mighty
Question of the Week
Morphin Power
channel,
Ranger.
but potential Question of the Week. I don't know if we're gonna do it or not. I want to see what Joe thinks about it. But I hate the Hood, and I think most of us in here hate the Hood. If you like him, fine. I'd love to hear why. Don't get it, but are there characters out there that when they show up, you just cringe?
Oh, that's a great question.
You hate them, and there doesn't even have to
That's
be
a great question.
good reason. Like characters that you just hate for almost no reason. Maybe.
Or you might have a
Well,
reason.
there's probably
and
a
it's
reason,
totally
but-
fair if you
Yeah,
have a reason.
and if
but
you do,
don't-
that's great.
The reason could be as spurious as I hate X because he was in the issue where my favorite character died,
Sure,
or
sure.
whatever.
I can tell you.
I think I don't know if Frank is being genuine with what he's posting, or
He
if
is.
he's
He hates
teasing Matt,
Gambit.
but I think
No, he
Matt
hates
hates
Gambit.
Gambit for no reason.
No, I
personally,
know
but,
exactly why I hate
No,
Gambit.
Hey, it's his
I hate-
decision to hate
I
Gambit.
hate Gambit.
It's fine.
I
honestly
know
hate Gambit.
exactly
He is
why I hate
literally the
Gambit.
worst character I've ever
I cannot.
had the displeasure to
Oh,
read.
now Frank, I know that can't. Be
I
so
can't-
true,
no,
but that's
no.
okay.
Hate-
We're not
hate
going to
Gambit.
discuss. We're not going to debate it here.
Stupid.
Opinions
stupid
are
character.
opinions.
My point being here, I know why I hate Gambit. I cannot pinpoint why I hate the Hood. I know I hate the Hood, but I cannot say it was this one thing it was this thing that did. Like, I cannot pinpoint what it is.
I have some very good reasons why, but maybe I'll save it for the Discord.
Yeah, yeah, we'll save it for the question of the week.
I would rather hear about characters that you don't know why you hate them. Like, that's the mystery.
Yeah, I mean, we'll make it a free for all, but yeah. So I made that joke about Brian K. Vaughan because he created the Hood. Brian K. Vaughan and Kyle Hotz co-created the Hood in the pages of a miniseries called The Hood. And if that had been it, much like the Sentry,
right?
Yep.
From Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee, if that had been the end of it, or even if that's like, yeah, the Hood gets a mini once every so often, or he pops up here and there as a D-list villain. Brian Michael Bendis decided that it was the coolest shit in the world, and made the Hood a constant presence in his Avengers run, and now we can't get rid of him.
Yeah,
no, that's exactly why. Yeah.
It's like you invited a vampire into the house, and all he wants to do is drink your beer and eat your Cheetos.
Right. He's not bad.
He's not even there to drink your blood.
Yeah. It's just like, why are you still here?
You're just taking up space.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did he die at least twice at this point?
At least.
Who knows?
At least. He went to hell for a minute. I remember that.
And I think that the reason that he's claiming, like, the Spirit of Vengeance claims him as a host is because Johnny Blaze is being cast down into hell at the spoilers for the end of the current Ghost Rider series.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marvel. Johnny Blaze is getting cast down into hell, and Danny Ketch has to go rescue him. And so the Spirit of Vengeance is like, well, shit. What am I going to do with my time?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would make sense if the Hood is still in hell. Maybe he's still dead, and they're like, all right, you're up. And they send him back from hell dressed as Ghost Rider 2099 to do his thing.
Yeah, man.
He blows up at the end of the run. He just explodes into hellfire.
Yeah.
I think it would be fitting. I think it would be fitting if the Sentry came back just in time to do what he did to Carnage in New Avengers #1 and tears him in half.
I'd rather
just
the Sentry
tear him in half.
like embraces him and they gently kiss and they fly into the sun together. You know, like that'd be
right.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
The Sentry also tore Ares in half, and I really liked Ares.
I did like Ares.
So maybe that's a bad example.
Me too.
Yeah, I agree. I hope at the end of this storyline that he gets, I don't know,
spontaneously combust.
You're fine.
I hope he gets stepped on by Krakoa, just smashed beyond to oblivion, beyond
and nobody talks about it, and that's just how the issue ends.
Yeah,
Krakoa's like, what did I step in? God.
Yeah, they're just like a footprint when he's laying there dead, and it says the end.
Oh, it's like
Bambi meets Godzilla.
What happened to Optimus Prime in the Transformers, where he accidentally stepped on a deer? So like maybe Giant Man accidentally steps on the.
Sure, yeah, it's over.
It's like, oh no!
All right, I got to peel out. Fun gang hang today. Kick around characters that just make you cringe, and you're not even sure why. If you want to talk about characters you hate, I'm fine with that too.
That's a great question of the week.
But yeah, we'll get into it next week. We'll get into it on Discord this coming week, and we'll be back for another gang hang. New comic reviews this week. Cobra Commander. We got a lot to talk about.
Boy, oh boy. It's not what I was expecting. I'll say that much.
Yeah. All right. I'm out of here. Love you guys.